Hey, good afternoon. It's your girl, Alviana Brewster, and I have a special addition to you today. So, I am Alviana Brewster, the owner of Black Nurse Entrepreneurs, and we are the premier networking organization for any Black nurse that's interested in launching, building, and growing their entrepreneurial endeavors. I would like to welcome you guys to B&E Presents the Trend. This is season number 2, episode 30, and I have titled it Let's Talk Patents, Trademarks, and Copyrights. In this episode, I have brought to you my special guest, my personal friend and personal attorney, Candace D. Walter. Let me tell you a little bit about Candace. Candace is a native Texan, yes indeed, and proud graduate of the University of Texas School of Law and Florida A&M University. She is licensed to practice law in Texas and also registered to practice before the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Ms. Walter has provided valuable legal guidance to her business and intellectual property clients via Walter Legal PLLC since 2016. Prior to opening her law firm, Ms. Walter was an assistant district attorney for the Dallas County District Attorney's Office, as well as an assistant city attorney and community prosecutor for the Dallas City Attorney's Office. She also worked for a medium-sized firm focusing on school law and intellectual property boutique, focusing on prosecution and litigation for a wide range of clients. In 2020, Ms. Walters was hired as the director of small business trademark clinic at Southern Methodist University School of Law. She previously worked as an adjunct professor at Collin County Community College, where she has taught Introduction to Intellectual Property. She has served on the boards of J.L. Turner Legal Association, J.L. Turner Legal Association Foundation, and the New Roundtable, Inc. She also participated in the Dallas Bar Association 2019 We Lead program and the Dallas Association of Young Lawyers 2017 leadership class. Ms. Walter also served as the 2019 chair for the Diversity in the Profession Committee and was also recently appointed to the Justice and Leadership Committee of the state of Texas, the Bar of Texas. Okay, guys, this sister has it going on. Without further ado, I present to you my dynamic attorney, Miss Candace D. Walter. Let me go grab her for you. Well, hello, sister. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Doing well. So first off, we would like to say thank you for joining us today. As they say, you could have been anywhere else in the world, but you are here with us, and I certainly do appreciate you today. I've already read this bio that you have here, but tell us a little bit more about you.
So thank you first for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here. I've heard about this group for, it seems like several years now. And so I just feel so honored that I get to be one of the presenters. So thank you so much. So I'm a native Texan. That means I'm from Richardson. Okay. I went to Florida A&M, so I had the HBCU experience. Then I came back to Texas, went to UT. And I can't believe it, but I've been an attorney for almost 17 years. I said, how is this possible? I'm only 33. No, just kidding. So I have been an attorney. It's really, in a few years, it's going to be 20 years. And I just can't believe it. I've learned so much. And now that I have my own office, I'm really in my groove. So I love having my own office, being an entrepreneur, giving advice to other entrepreneurs. And now my sister and I, we've decided to start a side business ourselves. So now I have my own, we're not official yet, but we're in the process of starting a side business. So now I'm an entrepreneur again, besides having my own office.
Nice. Very good. Thank you. I appreciate it. You know, I have this special feeling for people that are born and raised in Texas, right? Because we got a lot of people that are transplants, but us that have been here our whole life, we kind of special, aren't we?
I think so. We were born here because it's great. Okay. You other people are late.
That's right.
But welcome.
Thank you. So I'm curious, how did you even enter into law?
So way back when I was a young child, I wanted to be a doctor. And so my degree actually is chemistry pre-med. But as it came time to start taking the MCAT and applying to medical schools, I was like, I'm not really feeling this. I think I'm going to go to law school. And you know why I went to law school? Because I like Law and Order. That's why. And I was like, that looks like fun. I think I'm going to do that. It's faster than medical school. So I went to law school. I went to the DA's office. And I was like, you guys, this is not like Law and Order.
Right.
Yes, it's not. And so some of my friends were like, you have a science background. Why don't you do IP? And I'm like, what is IP? And so once I found out what it was, I was like, that's it. I'm doing IP.
Very good.
And that's what I've been doing for probably, I guess, the past 10 years or so.
You know, when I read your bio and it said that you started your law firm in 2016, did I read that correctly?
Yes.
That was the year. So B&E started in 2015.
Oh,
And
really?
I was working at the hospital in Dallas at Presby. And I started thinking to myself, like, I think I'm onto something here and I need to get this legalized. And so it was 2016 that I reached out to you initially.
Oh, really?
It was
Okay,
2016.
my first year.
Uh-huh. And I remember when you called me, I had to sneak and go answer the phone because because I was at work
Uh-huh.
and you were asking me questions about it, and I remember you talking about the name and stuff, and I was like, yes, the name. It's Black Nurse Entrepreneurs. I had to say I was still at work. But anyways, my point is this has been a journey. This has been one heck of a journey. And it was in 2019 when I really, really said, okay, you've got to protect this. And so I reached back out and said, hey, I don't know, this is not my lane, but I'm trusting you, fellow sister, like I need some help here. So I reached back out to Candace and I was like, she's got to help me. I trust her. I'm a researcher, so I've done my research and I've been following you across some of the social media platforms. And so I felt really comfortable and confident with you. And that's why I reached back out and was like, hey, you got to help me get this trademark set. So we did it, didn't we?
Yes, we did. So excited for you.
Thank you. So I think one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation is because us as business owners, especially us as Black men and women, sometimes we get our businesses up and going, but we may not know the full process to make sure that we're protected and that we're doing things legally. That is one of my biggest concerns for our group, because sometimes I'll see people launch stuff and they don't have proper things in place. And even since I started B&E and even since we've gotten the trademarks and stuff, I've had issues. I've had to come to you and say, hey, somebody's using my name, somebody's using my logo. So what I want you to do is spend a little time and just explaining. Let's start with explaining the difference between patents, trademarks, and copyrights, and then we'll have a more in-depth conversation about those specifically.
Okay, definitely. So that is really, really important. So if anybody is starting a new business, you cannot just pick a name and run with it for several reasons, because someone else may already have that name. You might be inviting someone to come sue you if no one has protected the name yet, and then you start using it, but those other people are doing bad things, and you're going to get the blowback. When people are Googling the name of the people that took their money and disappeared, you don't want to have that same name as those people. So back to the basic question, what are these different things? So a patent protects your invention. And so a patent can protect how something looks. That's a design patent. It can also protect how something works. That's a utility patent. And then for a utility patent, there could be a provisional patent. You can say patent pending for 1 year. You're not ready to do your whole patent application. Maybe you want to talk to some investors, or for whatever reason, you're not ready to jump all the way in. You could do the provisional utility patent. You are ready to jump all the way in. You already have a prototype. You have the money. Your invention is finalized. Then you can go forward with the non-provisional utility patent. So there's these inventions. So let's say that I've invented a dog bowl that refills itself with water or dog food, and it also lets my dog out and picks up the poop. That's amazing. I need to protect this thing. I don't want other people making knockoffs, okay? And also, whenever I'm teaching my class, when I'm telling my students about patents, I love for people, when you're in the grocery store, you will find a lot of things that have been patented, okay? Sometimes they're the things that say as seen on TV, but other times it's different food products. Like you might find this new broccoli it's in a special bag that you put in the microwave and it comes out buttery and cheesy. There are all kinds of random things in the grocery store that have patents. And so the other patent is a design patent. So with a design patent, the function of your invention doesn't matter. It's what does it look like? So if you think about when you go to Target and they have these different designers and they're, making these products that we already have, they just change the shape of it or whatever they've done to it. It doesn't do anything special, but it looks different. That's something you might protect with a design patent. And so for trademarks, that is all about your brand. What is your brand? Whatever it is, you have to protect it. And I would say that you should talk to your attorney before you even like make any moves with the name, because you could be walking into a minefield if you just pick a name and run with it. And so I have real clients who have chosen names for the businesses, spent tens of thousands of dollars on the name, and then they get the demand letter, or sometimes they call it a cease and desist letter. We've had this name for this much time. Change your name right now. We're going to sue you. And so talking to your attorney and doing some research, it's possible that something could slip through, but most of the time we're going to catch something and be able to warn you about, hey, I don't think you should use this name. And it's not just, is the name the same? Because sometimes when I'm talking to people, they're like, but mine has a Y and theirs has an I. They don't care. Yeah. Because the trademark office is looking at, what does this thing look like? What does it sound like? What's the impression? Is it going to confuse people? It doesn't have to be the exact same spelling. And so back to the trademark. So the trademark can be the name of your business. It can be a logo. If you have some kind of image like the Black Nurse Entrepreneur, we have, the black, the nurse, the entrepreneur is above the nurse. And we have like the black and the gold, and not the gold, but the white. So that's kind of a logo. And then the word mark is just the words Black Nurse Entrepreneurs without any claim to any kind of design or color or anything. So your logo, like with the Starbucks logo, it's that mermaid lady that's in a circle. That's a logo. And then they do also have the trademark for the word Starbucks. They probably have trademarks for all those drinks that they make up all the time that have 5,000 calories. So those are the different things you have to trademark. And then something else to keep in mind that people don't think about is if you hire someone to do your logo, when you apply for that logo, you need to own it. But do you own it? Do you have any agreement with these people that made the logo? So if you don't, then you want these people to assign all of the right title and interest to the art of the logo to you so that, you can copyright it. And just, also, like if you have a friend, even if it's your friend or your sister, somebody, I still suggest that you get an assignment of that copyright for the logo, because right now you're small. But sometime in the future, if you blow up and you are like, in the Oprah magazine or Black Enterprise or wherever you are, and you're like, oh, I had, $10 million in sales this year, that person that says they own your logo, they're going to come for you and say, hey, I see you using my logo on your 10 million units of product. You need to pay me for it. And you're like, no, it's mine. And so what do you have to prove that it's yours? So that's why you have to talk to an attorney, because people will get amnesia. Sometimes people will just lie. There could have been a misunderstanding. So it's best to talk to an attorney, have contracts with the agreement, make sure everybody's on the same page. And then also your attorney, if you have an experienced attorney, they can kind of guide you and advise you about things that you may not even think about. So back to what I was talking about, trademarks. So you can trademark the word, you can trademark your logo, and then the federal trademark can protect you across the whole United States, but you can't get a federal trademark unless you engage in interstate commerce. So if your business is 100% local, there's nothing interstate commerce about it, then you need to do a state trademark, and you can do that with the Secretary of State. But for a federal trademark, let's say that you have a website or you have a podcast and that's your service, and you have people listening to it from all across the United States, you don't have a problem doing interstate commerce. Even if your business is like a salon or some place where people come in and get services, you can still prove interstate commerce. So let's say that you have a lash studio, but you're shipping the lashes in from California, your glue is coming in from, whatever place, and, you have some special chairs that you have made and they shipped them in from this place. Or maybe like you have some software that you're using to do your payroll, and, that's whoever made that is over in this state. So there's lots of different things that can happen that are connections to interstate commerce so that you can be eligible for federal trademark. So if you are able to, you should get a federal, because it can protect you across the whole United States. Now, something else I want to talk about, unless you want me to stop, because I haven't got to talk.
You go.
Okay, so something else that I wanted to talk about is people, when we do the search report and we see that nobody has your trademark or anything close to your name, but I still say, hey, I think you need to change your name. And the reason is because even if no one has a trademark, and so you get the trademark first, you cannot enforce your trademark against prior users. You only can enforce it against later users. So for whatever reason, those people that were using this name first, maybe they were in one state and they didn't think they were eligible for federal trademark, or they don't know anything about trademark. You cannot stop them from using the name that they've been using for 10 years, even though you now have a trademark on it. And so what that means is that, let's say that whatever these people's business is, they have somebody, accuses them of molesting kids or whatever they do. And so then people are like, oh my gosh, the so-and-so store has a child molester working there as a manager. And then people start leaving bad reviews on Yelp or whatever they're doing. Those things can hit you because you have the same name. And so I have a client, his situation wasn't that dramatic, but his name is almost exactly the same one. They both have 5 words in their name, and there's one word that like has an extra S or something like that. And these people have the same name as him, and these people are in Florida, he's in Dallas. And these people are taking people's money and then not providing the service. So these people are going on the internet and leaving bad reviews on his website because they're mad at these people in Florida. So that's an example of, even if there is no one has the trademark for the name, if there are a bunch of people that are using a name that's similar to it, you should not use that name, because you can't control what those people do, and you can't stop them from using the name because they already used it. And then another thing to keep in mind is that if you find a name, there isn't anyone that's using that name, but there are people using similar names, or it's just a word that's kind of descriptive. It just can cause you a lot of problems, And then let's say that someone has your exact same name, but they have not trademarked it. Okay. So you go ahead and apply for the trademark. Those people have, whenever your trademark application is pending, when it gets published in the official Gazette, the people that don't want you to have the trademark, they have 30 days to say, hey, we don't want her to have that trademark because I was using it before them. If they miss that 30-day window and your trademark is registered, they have a 5-year period where they can come along and petition to cancel your trademark. And that can be based on their prior use. So even after you have the trademark, if there's someone else out there that was using it before you, they can come to the trademark office and say, I was using this 2 years before she said she was. I want to cancel that. So when I'm saying that, the other thing to think about is that when you start using a trademark and you never trademark it, you're now that person. So let's say that you've been using it for 5 years, you decide that you want to get a trademark, and then I tell you, hey, you can't get a trademark because Susie Q registered this 1 year ago. And you're like, but I've been using it for 5 years. Well, you have, but you never trademark. And so now Susie Q is in here using it. So in order for you to get a trademark now, you have to petition to cancel her trademark, fight with her in the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board. And then if you win that fight, then come back and apply for your own trademark. So in order to prevent that from happening, you need to trademark it from the jump. And before you can trademark it, you need to get a report, an analysis done by your attorney, so you can find out what's going on with this name in this space. And the report shows trademarks that are registered, that people applied for. It shows social media, it shows, just internet usage. If people have used the name for their business, but they haven't registered a trademark, all of that matters. So it's not just, did someone already trademark this? So that's for trademarks. And then for copyright is a little bit different. So when you're watching the movie and you see that FBI warning that tells you all the stuff you're not supposed to do, that's copyright. So somebody has a copyright for the music that you hear in this movie, the script, whoever wrote the scripts, they have a copyright. The people that are the producers of the studio, they own what you see on the screen. And then like if you were at a play or something like that, whoever was choreographing the dancing, that person can have a copyright for those dancers. The people playing the music, there's copyright for that music. The sound of the music is a different copyright than the notes of the music. So there's just copyrights all over the place. And so another thing that people love to do is when they are making their little videos on the internet or whatever they're doing and they play music, those people have a copyright. It's not just the person singing that has a copyright. The producer might have a copyright to the tracks. Somebody wrote those words. It's a whole bunch of copyright going on with this one song. So when you're playing that song, you are potentially probably infringing a lot of people's trademark. And it doesn't matter if you say, I don't own the copyright to this. We already know you don't own it. But you're still, exposing yourself to claims of infringement if you decide to play this background music. And so sometimes people try to enforce the copyrights, but other times they don't because they're like, that's free marketing. But if you're doing something that they don't agree with, they might come for you and say, you can't play this. And you've seen that before, like with our former president, and he would want to play people's songs for his walkout music. Like, wait a minute, don't play my song when you walk out. And so you have to get a license to somebody else's copyright if you want to play their song. And so there are companies that will sell you a catalog of music and you can use it. But so that's something else to think about. Don't just play other people's music as your background music or on your videos, because you might be committing copyright infringement. And the same thing happens too when people like take pictures on the internet and do different things to them. You don't own that picture. Someone else owns it. And so when you take it and, I don't know, like this is an example. One of my friends, she has a natural hair group. And so she paid someone to design a logo for her. Mm-hmm. And she's had this group, I feel, for like 10 or 15 years. I don't know. And someone took it and took her name off of it and put their name on it and was using it. So you can't do that. If you want a logo, you need to find and pay your own designer to draw up a logo for you. So don't go and do a Google search for, Black Power Fist and like take the image, put your name, your company name on it and say that it's your logo. Because now if someone else is using it for a trademark infringement, and then someone has a copyright for it. So there's a lot of like things that you have to think about. And so most people don't even recognize that there's intellectual property all around them. And so they're just being creative and, I like this picture and I like this and I like that. The person who owns it likes it too.
Right.
And they want to get paid before you use it and benefit from it. It's a lot of stuff. So that's why you need an attorney. We have all this in our head and we can say, stop, whoa, let's do this, let's do that.
Yes, this is why you need the expert. So moral of the story, try to trademark your stuff pretty quickly. What time frame are you saying? 6 months after you start using it, a year afterwards, or immediate?
I would trademark, if I were starting a new business, I would trademark it before I started using it. So with a federal trademark, you can apply as 1B means intent to use. Like I plan to use this in the future. And so right now, the trademark office, they have a backlog. So if you applied for your trademark right now in June or July, we would not hear anything from them until December or January. So that is when we might know if your trademark was approved. Before it was like we could expect something in 3 months, but now it's like 6 months. So it might be 6 months before we find out if your name was approved. And so that causes people problems because they don't want to move. They don't want to jump all the way in until they know if it's approved, but we're not going to be approved for 6 months. So that's just kind of a weird thing that has to happen. But I would say just maybe ease your feet in while you're waiting to find out if that name is going to be approved. But also with your search report, that will give you an idea of how likely your trademark is to get approved. And sometimes I tell people, you need to change your name, and they won't listen to me. They want to apply for that name anyway. And then we get rejected, and then they have to decide, the trademark office rejects it. Then they have to decide, do they want to fight for it, or do they want to give up and change their name like I suggested that they change it in the first place. But that's okay. I'm just here to advise people, and you have to go with what your gut says.
We're attached to these names.
I know. I've talked to a lot of people, and they have all kinds of reasons why they want that name. And I'm like, that's fine and dandy, but that's probably not going to happen. And something else that happens to people is that they really, really want their LLC name to be the same as their trademark. It doesn't have to be the same. So I have a lot of clients feel devastated when they can't get the trademark and they already have that as the name as their LLC or their nonprofit or whatever. Your entity name does not have to match your trademark name or your website. And that's something else that just reminded me. A lot of people think that when they buy a domain that they have that name is protected. It's not. So you buying that domain does not make you now have a trademark. You have to domain. You have a domain name. So you have to send in your trademark application to the USPTO or to the Secretary of State if you're doing a state trademark. That's how you get a trademark. And even the same thing, if you set up your business as an LLC or you file some paperwork with a DBA with the county or the state, you still don't have a trademark. The only trademark you might have is a common law trademark, and that's what you get just from using it. But you still don't have a state or federal trademark unless you've sent in an application. And that just reminded me of something else. Okay. This is what happens if I don't have slides. I just jump around like this. So
Okay.
a lot of, for the copyright, when I was talking about that, a lot of people think that if they put their, if, let's say they wrote a book or a story, some poems, whatever they did, if they mail it to themselves, they think that they've protected it. You haven't protected it. You've just mailed yourself an envelope. Okay. So copyright is different than trademarks and patents. So for patents, you have to send a patent application to the USPTO. You have to prosecute it. You have to argue with them about why you should get it, even though other people invented whatever they invented. And the trademark, like I just said, you have to send your application in to have the state or federal trademark, or else you just have common law. Copyright is different. If your work is a work of authorship, it's original and it's fixed, you have a copyright. So mailing it to yourself doesn't do anything. What you can't do is sue people unless your copyright is registered. And your copyright can only be registered when you apply, for this registration with the Copyright Office. So there's an application that you can do online, or you can do it on paper, and you have to send it to the Copyright Office. That's what makes you have a registered copyright, not just sending it to yourself. The only thing that sending it to yourself is going to do is to prove that you created it on this day or before that day. But it's not protecting it.
Let you know your address. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, I was in private chats, and so I just now saw these questions. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm watching them. We'll go through it in. I watched them, so we'll go through it here in just a sec.
Okay.
Just curious. So, one of the members actually in BNE had told me about this before, so I want to address it because you just said it. So, because let's face it, the majority of us here in BNE are business owners or potentially, and we're wanting to have logos and names and things like that. And so let's say we go to like a Fiverr somewhere like that and get our logo done. How is it that we go about getting them to sign off on the appropriate paperwork or whatever to say that the logo is ours?
Oh, that's pretty easy. So Fiverr, they already have the documents. You just tell them that you need an assignment, and they'll, put whatever on there and send it to you. So Fiverr is very easy to get the assignment, but I've had some people have difficulties with like private people. Like some person that they hired and now they've disappeared, or they say, I really own it. I was just letting you use it, and whatever crazy stuff they say. So I would make sure that you have an agreement with these people before. Like, I'm paying you this much money and you're designing this for me. It's a work for hire. I own everything. You own nothing. And they might ask you to let them have a license to it so they can include it in their portfolio. But for Fiverr, I've had lots of people just email them and say, I need to get an assignment. And they say, okay. And they send it to them.
Email straight from Fiverr?
Well, I don't know because I haven't used Fiverr. So they just tell me that someone on Fiverr designed it. And then I say, ask them for an assignment. And then they come back and they have it. So I don't know if it's the designer that did it or if it's I don't know about that.
Probably Fiverr themselves, I would assume. Okay, good to know, because a lot of us do business on Fiverr, so it's good to know the appropriate. When you have,
do you mind if I add one more thing? And so the reason why it matters if you own the trademark that the logo that you're getting the trademark for is because in the future, if you want to sue somebody for infringing the trademark, you don't have standing to sue unless you own the trademark. So if the designer from Fiverr owns it, you cannot sue for infringing it because they own it. And of course, they're not going to sue for infringement because they don't have any products or services associated with it. Why do they care if someone's infringing it? So that's why you need to have the ownership. And then make sure that if you have an entity that's selling your products, the entity needs to own it. And if you don't have an entity, then you can have it in your name. But once you do get an entity, you need to assign it from you, the person, to the entity, because the entity is the one that's selling the products or the services.
That makes sense. Ooh, it's a lot to unpack.
It is. It can be overwhelming. And so sometimes people ask me, they're like, why do I need an attorney? Can't I just do this myself? You can do it yourself, But if you've never done it before, there's a high likelihood that you might mess it up. And then you'll have to call me back to fix it. And it might cost you more money to fix it than it would have for me to do it in the first place.
Understandable.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, one thing that one of our members says all the time that I'm a firm believer in as well is, there's some people that need to be on your call log or retainer or something, right? A
Mm-hmm.
CPA and an attorney establish those relationships pretty early on as you start your business. Would you agree?
I would agree. A CPA and an attorney, because you don't want to get in tax trouble. And something else that I've just recently started using is a business coach.
Mhm.
So I've been working with a business coach since January, and she has helped me tremendously. And I've wanted to slap myself. Why didn't I think of this before? But I'm on the right track now.
I think it's good that you mentioned that, honestly, because we actually have this conversation quite often in this community about coaches need coaches as well. And I view you as an expert when it comes to business and at least the legality portion of protecting your business, but it's still important that you recognize you needed a coach as well.
Yes, because I do not know. I mean, now I've been running a business for 5 years, but they didn't teach me anything about how to run an office, and how to manage people and all kinds of things I never thought about. And the coach has been like, that doesn't make any sense. You need a new system. You're right.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good information.
Mhm.
I'm glad you got a good business coach.
Yes. And the other thing too is that
Mhm.
I've been working with her since January, and I had a goal to meet within a year. I met the goal in June
Nice.
because I'm now focusing and like gathering numbers. She asked me different things. I have no data points. I never thought of even collecting data. So that's what a coach can do for you. It's
Yeah.
kind of keep you on track and.
Streamline the process.
Mhm.
Want to know, there's something that you and I talk about often, and I want to make sure that they understand this publicly, that whenever, specifically when you're doing trademarks, how you have to think about what class that it belongs to.
Yes.
Explain what that means.
Okay, so when you apply for a trademark, there are 45 different classes. And so, like, let's talk about Apple. So they have, a lot of different products. So they probably have trademarks for the phones and the computers and all these different things. But Apple, that company in California, they don't have a daycare. So they can't stop me from calling my daycare Apple, or let's say that I have a lawn mowing service and I call it Apple Lawn Mowing. They can't stop me. But if I have a business that's selling like phone chargers or anything that kind of is related to what they're doing, then I have a problem. But as long as my class or my products aren't related to theirs or the same, then they can't stop me. So that's why the classes matter. And so that matters too for you guys. If you, whatever class your mark is in, that's what you're protected for. So let's just say that you were a clothing designer and you called your brand whatever you called it. And so somebody comes along, they're making some kind of shoes. You can have a cause of action against those people. But again, like if I'm using the same name as you, but I cut grass or I take care of babies or I fix computers and you're a clothing brand, then you can't do anything about that. We're in different classes, and the goods and products, they're not related. If somebody went into the store, they're not going to be together. So that's why the classes matter.
Yeah. Whenever I explain it to our community, I just tell them that it's the reason why we have a Pandora radio station and we can have a Pandora the jewelry
Yes,
collection, because they're in two
exactly.
totally different classes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so they don't want the patent office or the trademark office doesn't want people to be confused, and so they don't want someone to create a product that's kind of slightly related to it, and then I start getting goodwill because of Pandora jewelry. People think I'm related to it, and now all of a sudden I have all these customers that I haven't worked for, and I might even be stealing their customers.
Gotcha. And that's a very valid point, and I think we need to consider that when we're talking about this type of stuff. Is it's not only to protect your business, but it's also to separate businesses so there's not brand confusion as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had to have the conversation even in this community, as some of us pick out names and things. Sometimes the names can be kind of similar, and it's like, hey, even though it's it's right there on the edge. You probably want to avoid using that because we're doing similar things within
Mhm.
healthcare, and there's going to be that confusion that may pop up.
Yes. And
Okay,
that's not good for anybody.
it's not. It's not. So, what would you say? Oh, you know what? I'm going to back up because somebody had a wonderful question up here. Somebody wanted to know, what do trademarks typically cost?
Okay, so right now at my office, one federal trademark is going to cost you $1,500, and that includes one class. We just talked about there's 45 classes, so one class is 250. It includes the search report where I tell you about the other, if anybody else has applied or registered this trademark, the social media, the internet, the business names. It includes the search report and it includes your attorney's fees. And so after we file your trademark application, if somebody opposes your trademark or after you get registered, they petition to cancel it, or if you get rejected because they say it's merely descriptive, if we have to prepare any substantive response, then that would cost you extra money. But if your trademark just goes through smooth sailing, no problems, 1,500 would be your cost.
Gotcha. All right. Cool. Let me see if there's anything else
For
here.
a federal trademark, a state trademark is cheaper, like half the price.
Okay. I'm gonna glance through here and just see if there's anything. Now, I know that you specifically do patents, trademarks, and copyrights. What other business things do you do?
So I also help people form their entities. So if you wanted to set up an LLC, I can help you do that. Or you have contracts. And sometimes these contracts are, there might be one specific deal that they're working on, but some of the other contracts, they can be something that you're using with all of your customers. Like what, and sometimes that's something else to keep in mind. You need to have some kind of contracts between you and your customers, your vendors, all those people. And if the other side presents you a contract, don't just sign it. It's a very good idea to have an attorney review it, because that's going to cost you, like, a few hours of attorney time versus you signing this contract, giving away all your rights, and accidentally giving away, I don't remember what that saying is. I don't want to say giving away the something, but it's some kind of catchy saying. It's Friday and I'm too tired, I can't think of it. But you don't want to give away everything. Okay. And so you need an attorney to look at this contract and say, hey, I wouldn't sign this, or I would ask for this. And sometimes when people write, or most of the time when people write the contract, it's going to be biased towards them. And so if you just sign it, then great. I got everything I wanted.
Mhm, mhm,
So
mhm.
you want to make sure that you have an attorney review it and don't just sign it. And then
Gotcha.
this same thing for you too, because the contract also protects you. So you want, if you have the contract, you wanted to say, what are you charging them for? What are you providing? What is the deadline for them to send you XYZ? If they don't send it, what's going to happen? If they reschedule, this thing never happens. Is there going to be a fee for you to reschedule it or for you to redo this? Or if they're not happy, what's their recovery? Are they agreeing that they're not going to go to litigation? The parties have to go to mediation. So there's all kinds of things that you should agree to in advance of starting any business relationship.
Good to know. Good to know.
And I see someone's question here. Do you mind if I
Yeah,
answer it?
go ahead.
It says I'm using the same name for a business name, logo, and a framework, but I have to submit a separate trademark request for each. So I don't really know what a framework is, but I will say for a business name and a logo, those are two separate trademark applications. So for me, Walter Legal PLLC, I could have a trademark where I say Walter Legal PLLC. I'm not claiming anything, no color, no font, no images. I don't have any scales of justice or anything. That's one trademark. And then the other trademark, if I say I want to trademark my logo, so it's the W, I have the words Walter Legal, I have a yellow line, I have bubbles, it has an R and a C and different things. That's a logo. So those are two separate things. And the reason why people want to protect both is because if you just protect the words, then you can write them any color, any font, put them wherever you want, it's protected. If you don't protect the logo, or actually with your logo, let's say that you only protect the logo and then a few years from now you rebrand. Now you don't even use that logo, so you don't have a trademark. So the words, that gives you broader
Mhm.
protection than the logo that might change later. And with the logo, let's say your logo is a circle, it has a square and a triangle and these words in it. it has to be all those things to be protected. You can't take out the square or the triangle or replace it with something else. Now that's not the same logo that you protected. And so now you're not protected. And so sometimes you can't get the words because the trademark office might say that it's merely descriptive. And so then you have to do a supplemental register with your trademark. And then after you use it for say 5 years, you can apply again and say, I've used this continuously for 5 years. It's acquired distinctiveness now. And the acquired distinctiveness means it used to be just descriptive, but now after it's been used for 5 years and people and consumers are familiar with it, it's acquired some distinctiveness. Now you get a trademark. So hopefully that answers your question. And I don't know what that means, framework. I know what framework means, but I don't know what it means in that.
So basically, the moral of the story is each is a separate.
Yes, they're separate. They're separate things. And then sometimes you can't get a trademark for only the words, and that's why you get a logo. But I have clients, it doesn't happen often, but it happens where people protect a logo. And then once it's approved or right before it's approved, they tell me they changed it. You can't do that. So if you change it, then we have to start over with a new trademark application.
Gotcha.
So don't even think about protecting the logo unless you're planning to keep that logo. And now I see also someone else is saying that LegalZoom is charging us $650. So I've never used LegalZoom, but I will tell you that I have clients who use LegalZoom and then they had to come to me to fix what happened. So I think that LegalZoom and the legal subscription services, they're probably okay to use for some simple things. But I don't know that I would trust them for my trademark. And not just because I'm a trademark attorney and I'm like, oh, I'm saying because I have clients who use LegalZoom and then I'm like, what is this? Why did they do this or why did they do that? And they're like, I don't know. My client, I'm saying. So I think, and me personally also, like for me, I like to patronize people that have an office. And if there's some kind of problem, I can roll up there and get in your face.
That's one of the reasons why I chose you. I was like, she's close by just in case I got to go to the office for anything.
Exactly. Where is the LegalZoom office at? I don't know.
Probably like in India somewhere. So
I'm not really sure where it is. So I like to be able, and now we have, COVID, so you can't see people as freely before, but I like to be able to see the people, talk to them, if I need to come in the office and talk about this and that. I don't want to call a hotline and just get assigned to some random person.
Yeah, and it goes back to the ongoing relationship too that you're establishing with, because how many times have I had to be like, hey Candace, this happened to me yesterday. Can you look at this real quick and just tell me what you think? I don't know that I can really do that on LegalZoom. And I don't know. I've never used it either, so I can't really speak to it.
Yes, I don't know either. So I'm sure some people have used it and been happy, but I have clients who used it and they were unhappy and then they had to come to me. But I see someone said that LegalZoom messed up their LLC. So I would think that that's kind of an easy project. I don't know how they messed it up, but.
Yeah, LLC is an easy one. So I'm with you. What happened?
Yes.
Elaborate. What happened?
Yes,
How did
I don't know.
Look it up?
And then, someone said, do I serve clients across the U.S.? So for trademarks, because it's federal, I have clients that are spread across the United States. But if you wanted to do a state trademark, you need to get an attorney that's in your state. Or if you're trying to set up an LLC or a corporation, you have to get an attorney that's in your state because that's governed by state law. But if it's trademarks, patents, copyrights, that's all federal, and I can help you.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Cool. What would you say? What is your bit of advice? I've already given mine. Look, get you somebody and put them in your back pocket just in case you never know when you're going to need them. But what would you say for the brand new business owner as far as, hey, this is my advice to you. This is what you should do. What would you tell them?
One thing I would do is to have a mentor or somebody that is where you're trying to go so they can advise. And I did that before I opened my office. I talked to other attorneys that had opened their own office and I said, what did you wish that you knew before you did this? So I think that's really important just so you can try to learn a little bit about other people's mistakes or about their great advice. And so that's one thing. And then another thing too, is that even though sometimes Facebook is evil, it can be used for good. Okay. And so I'm in a lot of different attorney Facebook groups, and I've learned lots of things about different software to use, or, where to get, staff for different positions. So
Mhm.
don't be afraid to, rely on your Facebook village to give you advice. And then also, you have to spend money to make money. So don't be afraid to hire somebody to set up your LLC, or to, do your trademark application, or even just to consult with you, because the amount of money that you're spending, like for instance, my client that he spent $30,000 on his brand. Like, he has wrapped a van, he's printed out thousands of flyers to hang on doors and cards and banners and all kinds of stuff. And so it's not until he got the demands letter saying you need to change your name or else we're going to sue you, he's like, oh. So it would have cost him $1,500 for me to help him with this trademark, and he would have saved that 30, or he would have spent that 30 on a name that he could use. And so that's what you have to keep in mind. And like another client of mine, he was becoming a business partner with someone, and I told him, one, not to do it because that person had no assets and had no, I think he had no skills and no money, but my client saw some benefit to it. I told him not to do it. He did it. So they were in business for 2 years. Then the whole thing blew up. So they were in business, but they don't have an operating agreement. They don't, my client's giving money and he says it's a loan. This guy says it's not. They're not going to pay it back. So both of these people spent thousands of dollars fighting with each other when this whole thing blew up. So you could also have your attorney, get an attorney, get an operating agreement, discuss what's going to happen when you want to part ways. And so that's what you have to think about. I can spend, a couple hundred or a few $1,000s now, or this might blow up and cost me like tens of thousands of dollars. We don't want that to happen. And then I've seen someone here who's talking about European Union trademarks. So if you're overseas, I personally do not handle international trademarks, but I know attorneys and their firm, they have people there that handle international trademarks, or they have a relationship with a firm in the country that you want to get protected in, they can help you. And so like me, one of my clients, I did his US trademark and he wanted a Canadian trademark. I don't know how to do Canadian trademarks. So I found someone actually through the Facebook group, and they helped us do that, his Canadian trademark.
Gotcha. You know what? I'm gonna there were a couple of questions that were submitted prior to, and
Okay.
I want to just address those as well. One of them was, what are the steps to register a trademark?
So to register the trademark, first, this one seems obvious, but you have to have a name that you want to protect. And so I actually have clients, they had a name. I did the first search report and I said, someone has this exact same name for the exact same services. You really need to change your name. And so now it's been 3 months, 6 months. They're trying to decide what to change the name. So first you have to have a name, but I would say to have some backup names just in case the results from the search report are not favorable. Have your backup names ready. So what are your names? So we do the search report, we find out if we think it's going to go through or not. Then we have to decide what class. So what are your services? What are your products that you're selling? So once we figure out the class, I'm going to prepare a draft of your trademark application and send it to you to review. And so your trademark application is it going to be you, or do you have an entity that's going to be the owner? You have to put your address. We have to put your trademark, either the words, or we need a JPEG file of your logo. And something else I didn't mention is with your logo, if you claim colors on your logo, you have to use it as those colors for it to be protected. If you claim it in black and white, then you can make it any color. So we have to talk about that. Do you want this logo in black and white, or do you want this color? Is the color important to you? And then we do the classes. We have to send, if you're saying that you use a trademark now, we have to send a specimen of use. So you can't just say that you use it without proving it. So we have to show your website, or if you say that you make hair products, they want to see the label with your logo on the product. Or it could be your website where you have all your products and it says order here, shipping's $5, or we have free shipping this week, whatever it is that you say. So you can't submit mock-ups, okay? So sometimes, like if you're on, Canva or some other place where you can just kind of design stuff and like have an image on something, but it's not a real thing, they're not going to take that. We need to see the real product with your logo on it, or your website, Or like if you say you're a motivational speaker, maybe we have a picture of you on the stage talking to these people, and your little sign that's next to you or the table that has your information and your books and your logos everywhere. So you need to be able to prove that you're using it. And if you're not using it or you can't prove that you're using it, then we can file it as 1B, which means I plan to use it in the future. Then you don't have to prove the use with your initial application. So then we send your application off, and that's when we have to wait for 6 months. So after the 6 months, if there's no problem with your trademark application, then it's going to get published in the official gazette. And that's when whoever doesn't want you to have it has 30 days to object. If they don't say anything, your trademark will get approved, and then the certificate will come in the mail 11 weeks later. So this whole process could easily take 9 months. So if anybody tells you that, we can get your trademark in 2 months, they can't. It's going to take a long time. So you have to plan out for the long game. And if you filed it as intent to use, I haven't used it yet, then once it gets approved, then you have to prove to them that you used it. So then that's when you have to send in the website or the picture or whatever.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, get your trademarks. Here is another question, kind of goes along with the international. She's wanting to know about getting an international patent. And do I need to register a company both in the United States as well as Canada to execute contractor trade in both countries?
Did you say contractor trade?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not sure what that means by contractor trade. So I'm not, if the person's on there, maybe they can explain it. But can you tell me the first part of it? Do they need to have a company in both countries?
Well, plain and simple, I'm not exactly sure what she's wanting, but she lived here and has moved to Canada, but she still does business here. So I'm thinking she may want to know how to do business, or at least legalize her business between the two.
Okay, so I have some of my clients, I have clients, some of them, they only have a US based business, and then other people, they have it. I think one thing I would say is to talk to your CPA, and then also consider who are the people that you're doing business with, like your vendors, or if you have government contracts or different things. Like one of my clients, he's working a deal with some people in Nigeria, but they, whoever they're working with, they have to have a Nigerian company. So that's why he's partnering with them. He's a US company, they're Nigerian. He has to partner with them in order to get this business. So I think for that specific question, it kind of depends on some external factors besides what you said. But just in general, you don't have to have a company in every country that you're in. And a lot of times people will be operating in another country because they think their tax laws are better, or they have cheap labor, or whatever they're doing. So there's all kinds of reasons why people will have a company set up somewhere else. Sometimes some people say the US isn't friendly to business owners. I don't know. I don't have to say anything.
Okay. And then just one last question. This lady is asking, when starting a business, is it better to offer a mobile service instead of an office space?
Okay, so for that question, I think it depends. What is your product, and who's your target customer? Like for my office, I've had a virtual office space for 5 years, and whenever most of my I would say half of my clients, I've never seen them. And if I saw them at Kroger, I wouldn't even know it was them, because I've never seen them. So for me, with what I'm doing, a lot of what I'm doing is on the computer, so I don't have to see anybody. So it would be okay for my office to be virtual. But for other people, like if my business was family law or probate or something like that, where I have people come in and they have to sign documents, we have to get ready for court, I need to have an office. Then like for your business, let's say that you were a caterer or something, you need a commercial kitchen, but do you really need to have an office? I don't know. Or if you're a mobile notary, and so your business, or like someone that's in some kind of healthcare and you're going to see your patients, you don't need an office. You probably just need a mailbox. But the services you're providing, you're doing it for people wherever they're located. You're traveling to them. So I think it depends on your business. And this is some general business advice. When you first start your business, I did say you have to spend money to make money, but don't get too crazy. Okay. So when I first started my business, I just had a virtual office. And I think I was probably paying like $50 a month for, to have the address, to have the conference room, that kind of stuff. there is no reason when you first start your business for you to get a warehouse or, this office suite. And now all of a sudden you have $2,500 in expenses and you don't even have any customers. So don't do that. So wait until, as long as you can, try to build up your business, get some money going, and then start, having these expenses. So that's another piece of advice I would have is spend money, but not right away. And now I have actually just got an office because I've been locked up in my house for a year and a half. I'm going crazy. I'm like, I don't want to be virtual anymore. I want to go to an office. I need to see somebody. So now I have an office. So y'all have to come see me one day. And one more thing also, someone is saying, how long does a trademark and a copyright last? So copyright, just the general, there's different rules depending on different factors, but generally the copyright is for the life of the author plus 70 years. So after the person dies, 70 more years, and then it's out there in the public domain. And then for a trademark, after you register the trademark, after 5 years, you have to do a renewal to basically tell the trademark office, I'm still using this trademark. And then then it's between the 9th and the 10th year, you have to say again, I'm still using this trademark. And then after that 10-year mark, then it's every 10 years. So as long as you keep using this and keep checking in every 10 years and paying those fees, because they love fees, then your trademark is going to stay good. And I just talked to a person who missed the deadline to renew the trademark. They give you a 6-month grace period. She missed the year time and the 6-month grace period. So now we have to try and revive that. So it's going to cost you, say, $500 if you did it on time. Now it's going to cost you $1,000 or $1,500. Sorry.
We get busy. And we forget things.
And this is not related to IP, but this is about spending money and hiring people on your team. So whenever I first started my office, when I was being cheap, I said I could be my own accountant. Now ask me what accounting school I went to. Or what, accounting degree I have. Or I did it for like a month or two, and I was like, this is costing me money to pay someone to fix what I just messed up. So I'm like, hello, I need a CPA. And so I've had this guy for, I don't know, I got a referral from another attorney. So it was the CPA that her dad was using. So that's another piece of advice too. Referrals most of the time are great. So for me, I like to know that someone who is a real life person that I know and I know where they live, they have used these people. And so I feel, okay, this is a real company. It's not a scam.
I agree. I'm on the kick of trying to encourage them to, because I've been at this technically for a good little bit, right? And I'm just now really building the team up, and I've been encouraging people like, hey, you need to enter into this with the mindset of you're going to grow and you're going to have people on your team, period. Started out with the mindset of that, because it was for me, either you pay for it in money or time. Well, I didn't have the money, so I was taking the time, but now I don't have the time for it. So it's like, okay, you got to figure this thing out, because you are wasting too much time on stuff that somebody else can be doing.
Yes. And that is exactly what my business coach told me, because I was spending time doing things that a legal assistant could do. And I was like, you're right. Why was I doing it? I don't know. And just the amount of money that you can make from like outsourcing it to someone else. You handle this admin stuff. I'm doing the heavy lifting, of what my talent and skill is. My talent is not typing letters. Okay. And mailing letters or calling people and putting them on the calendar. I don't need to waste my time doing that. But in the beginning, when your phone's not ringing that much, you probably have time to do it. But then when you get too busy, you don't have time to do that. You have to pay somebody. And those people, they will pay for themselves because of the way that your volume will increase when you're not doing all those little bitty nitpicky tasks that you don't need to be wasting your time on. You will now make more money, and you'll be like, well, why didn't I hire someone before?
Thank you. You're reiterating that for me.
Yes, we're learning. Okay, 5 years later, we've learned some things.
Right. Well, I appreciate it. We're at the hour mark, and I want to respect your time here. We've gotten lots of great information or just feedback. A lot of people have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation with you tonight. So I certainly appreciate you stopping by and being a part of our community. I will one day. I'll have to come out and physically come to your brand new office. Okay.
Yes, you have to. I'm in Richardson off Campbell.
Okay.
But the
You're
last thing
not
that
far
I
away
wanted
at
to,
all.
yeah, the last thing I wanted to say was everyone that tuned in on a Friday night at 6:30, that is proof of your dedication to taking your business to the next level.
That's
I'm
right.
just so happy for you guys. That's so beautiful. I spend a lot of time working on the weekend too. Okay, that's what you got to do when you're a business owner.
That's right. All right,
Mhm.
cool. Do you have anything else that you would like to give as your final thought
I
before we?
don't have any final thoughts, but if anyone has questions, I do offer a free 15-minute consultation, and that can you'll find out if I can even help you. If I can't help you, I can refer you somewhere else. If whatever you need is not what I do.
All right, sounds good. So
Okay.
I'm going to close us out. That's it for us today. Make sure that you're following Black Nurse Entrepreneurs across all of our social media platforms. We're in the clubhouse, of course, so come hang out with us in the clubhouse. But most importantly, I hope that you guys have gotten great value out of this. I am going to have Candace's information that'll be located in the descriptions as well as in the biography section on the podcast. And like I always say, I say that we are not the trend, but we do represent the trend. So we are the trend. I want you guys to continue to be awesome trendsetters that you are and have a good weekend. And nothing else, meet us back here next Friday for our anniversary. 6 years, Candace. Can you believe
6 years. Ah! You know what? We're gonna have to go out, me and you, to celebrate 6 years.
it? Okay. Hey,
Okay, I'm gonna email you so we can set a date.
sounds good. Sounds good. Well, I
Okay.
appreciate you, my sister. It's good to hear
Okay.
from you. And that is it for us tonight. Bye, guys.
Okay. Bye bye.